Hey guys, what's up, Zyflin here, and today I wanted to show you guys how to play Atlas in Warframe. Now, Atlas is a pretty straightforward frame to play, but to play him efficiently and effectively, there's a few tips that you may want to know just to make your overall experience just a little bit more enjoyable, I guess, because you're going to be able to one-hit enemies and also petrify them at the same time with, better results than if you would without these tips, I guess. That's where I'm going with this. But anyway, I'm going to show you guys a standard Atlas build to begin with. Now, I say standard build, I mean my Atlas build. It's a little bit over the top with the Umbral mods and stuff like that. You're definitely not going to have all of these mods maxed out, especially if you're a newer player. But I'm just going to go through like general tips and advice whenever it comes to building Atlas in the first place. So you might think to yourself, if you're going to be building around a one-punch build, just one-shotting enemies with your first ability, you're going to want to throw on a bunch of power strength, right? Because the higher your power strength, the higher your base damage is going to be for Atlas. And you would be right in saying that, but there's a few other things to keep in mind whenever it comes to building him, such as his passive, right? So his passive actually gives you more armor depending on how much rubble you collect. Now, rubble is made by killing enemies with your 1 when they are affected by your 3, right? So if you were to go up to an enemy who is petrified with your third ability and then kill him with your landslide, your first ability, you're going to get these little rocks that are going to be on Atlas, and these are going to give you more armor, right? So having range and duration on this build is actually worth it, because having that extra armor is going to allow you to sustain a little bit more damage and then deal more damage overall, because you're staying alive and face tanking all the enemy's damage, right? So we have stretch and overextended on here for a little bit of duration. So we have prime continuity for the duration, which is also counteracting the negative duration from transient fortitude, and then we have the range on there in stretch, which is going to allow us to affect more enemies with petrify, right? And then basically the rest is in power strength and efficiency. So we have transient fortitude, augur secrets, power drift, and umbral intensify for our strength, prime flow for our energy, so we can get more casts off because we have a higher energy pool, umbral vitality for our health, which is also going to increase the stats of umbral intensify and give us 850 health. And then our aura, it's really down to you what you use. I recommend either corrosive projection or steel charge. Steel charge will give you more damage like across the board versus every single faction. However, corrosive projection is going to let you deal more damage to armored enemies, so that's the like of corrupted and Grenier. Armor scales very, very heavily in this game, so being able to deduct 30% of that off enemies is definitely crucial, especially because this aura mod actually stacks, right? So aura mod stacks. So if you have another 3 players in your party also using corrosive projection, you can completely strip away armor from enemies and make them more susceptible to your overall damage, right? Your arcanes, it doesn't really matter too much, but I recommend either choosing between Arcane Strike or Arcane Fury. Arcane Fury is going to give you more critical damage, which is definitely going to be nice, because another big thing to note about Atlas's first ability is that it's a pseudo-exalted. Now, a pseudo-exalted ability basically means it takes the mods that are equipped to your melee weapon, but things like Blood Rush and Riven mods actually work. Now, if you were to take something like Excalibur's Exalted Blade, which is an exalted weapon, those mods don't work. Riven mods don't affect it, and Blood Rush doesn't work with it either, because if they did, then they would be very, very powerful and more or less overpowered. So let's just go ahead and take a look at the base stats of landslides with this build. So we have 871.5 base damage, and all of this damage is impact damage, by the way. That's also another important thing to note, because if we're going to be going with a weapon that has a high Riven dispo, we're also going to want to look for a impact weapon, because we want to be equipping impact mods to further amplify the damage of landslide, right? So we have that 871.5 damage, a radius of 2.9, and a combo window of 1.27. Now, this is where your petrify ability, your crowd control ability, is going to come into play, because you're going to be wanting to freeze enemies and keep them in place so you can go from enemy to enemy and build up your combo with your landslide, right? So we can petrify enemies for a total of 25.5 seconds, and we cover a range of 20 meters, which is awesome. So the idea behind this is to be constantly stunning enemies with your third ability, and then bashing them with your 1 to build that combo and also build up the armor. Now, your armor will decay over time, but because you're going to be constantly bashing enemies in the likes of a survival or an exterminate, you're going to be constantly getting that armor back, right? So moving on from there, to further amplify the damage of our first ability, we're going to be using the Amethyst, right? The Amethyst is a mainly impact weapon, and it also has a disposition of 5. Now, the reason we're using the Amethyst is so we can use this mod right here, Primed Heavy Trauma. Now, Primed Heavy Trauma gives you 165% bonus impact damage. Now, there's a rule for modding for impact puncture slash mods like this, and the rule is for you to mod for this certain type of IPS, you need to have an IPS mod that gives you a damage bonus that is greater than 90, and then the weapon that you're putting this IPS mod on has to have 90% of its total damage in the specific IPS that you're modding for. So in this case, we have Primed Heavy Trauma, which is giving us a 165% impact bonus, and we're using the Amethyst, which most of its damage is in impact damage, so it makes sense to mod for this. That way, we're gonna get a higher overall bonus to our Amethyst damage. But in saying that, we're also going to get a higher bonus to Landslide because it's taking 165% off that initial number that we had in our ability screen and then adding that on top. Of course, that doesn't mean that you can neglect your elements. Of course, throw your elements on as well, but only throw on one elemental combo. In this case, it makes sense to have one elemental combo on and not going for a third element because Primed Heavy Trauma is going to give us a higher damage bonus, right? So whenever it comes to a Riven, you're looking for the melee damage stat on there as well. So impact, sure, you could use that. You could maybe have melee damage plus impact, but I have a melee damage plus attack speed, so it isn't the perfect Riven. But having a negative on your Riven is going to make the positive stats a lot higher. So having over 300% melee damage is already a pretty big bonus, stacked on top of Prime Pressure Point. So that's an insane number right there. You're talking 400, 500% with these two mods stacked together. Berserker, because, I mean, we're going to be running Blood Rush on this because Blood Rush does work with Landslide. And then Drifting Contact to further extend our combo duration. Now, I could format a little bit more and then throw on Body Count and then have 12 seconds. That's totally fine as well. Or I could use Naramon. So either really works. And other than that, that is really it whenever it comes to the whole modding section. Realistically, with a lot of these how to play videos, knowing how to mod the frame is kind of half the battle, right? So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using Zeneric to sustain our energy in a exterminate mission. I'm going to go ahead and turn the music on in game just so we have something in the background to listen to. But we're going to be using Zeneric to sustain our energy. If you're not using Zeneric to sustain your energy, then you may want to replace the Augur Secrets for Fleeting Expertise and do a one from the top Streamline and a one from the top Augur, or not Augur Secrets, Fleeting Expertise. So then you have your maximum efficiency so you can get more cast off. So it's really down to you which one you prefer, Augur Secrets or Streamline plus Fleeting, you know? So Streamline plus Augur or Streamline plus Fleeting. But of course, if you're doing Streamline plus Augur, you want to have a max rank Streamline. But if you're doing Streamline plus Fleeting, you want to have a one from the top Streamline and one from the top Fleeting, because then you're getting your 75% bonus and you're saving like what, 2 mod capacity, which is going to allow you to start with higher base energy instead of having to spam pads like that, or, you know, use your Zeneric or whatever. So what we're going to be doing is using our third ability and then using our one, right? And you'll see down there in the bottom right hand corner that we're building armor with every single enemy that we kill that is affected by our Petrify, right? So we're just going from enemy to enemy and we're spamming our Petrify as much as possible. Don't really worry too much about the little combo meter down there. It doesn't matter that much, but you can build a lot more damage if you do keep that up. Whenever you're fighting a big group of enemies and whenever the enemy's health and armor starts to scale up, that's when, you know, that'll start to come into play and you'll start to deal more overall damage, right? So you'll notice that this is a very, very energy heavy build. So like I said, replacing Augur Secrets for your Fleeting Expertise may be essential, and it is all down to your playstyle. I just like having that higher base damage, so I've got higher potential to kind of one-shot every single enemy that I come across, right? Because you can kill entire rooms with your first ability if you just, like, you know, have a high enough base damage and high enough stats on your Amethyst build, right? So we can see that we more or less one-shot every single thing in this map, and you'll one-shot like mainly every single enemy that you do come across. And I'll show you guys this build versus armored level 155 enemies as well, and I'll show you guys how fast they drop to after we go free and we punch a little bit more. You can use your rumblers too. But of course, they're going to take a little bit of energy, and you can also use your second ability. Your second ability has some unique uses, like blocking off certain hallways, or, you know, blocking objectives from enemies being able to get to them. So like in the index or something, they're not really abilities that I use or recommend using a lot, but you can definitely, you know, find some uses for them. Like your rumblers are just there to kind of clean up some other mobs that you may not necessarily be paying attention to, right? So what we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to back out of this mission, and then we're going to jump into the simulacrum, and we're going to test this build and its overall damage. So there's my daily tribute, because it's 1 in the morning right now, so that's a thing. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the simulacrum, and I'll show you guys the damage versus the armored level 155 unpaused enemies, because if you are meleeing paused enemies, you're actually going to be dealing bonus damage in the form of stealth damage, right? Because the enemies aren't going to be detecting you, and melee gives you that stealth bonus. So that's why we unpause them whenever we're testing melee in the simulacrum. So let's just go ahead and loading, so much stuff. So let's go ahead and get them. Here we go, like so. Select not paused, and we'll make them level 155. You're going to be coming across level 110 enemies in sortie level content. So if you're only doing sortie level content, level 110 is what you should be going for. But just to show you guys this build against these guys, level 155, a little bit overkill. You'll see that once we start hitting them, they start to die pretty fast, and you kill them in groups as well. So again, if you're just going from enemy to enemy, then you're going to be building your damage very, very fast. So you're not necessarily one-punching these level 155s per se, but that's because of how much armor they have. The more teammates that you have that have cruiser projection, you're going to deal tons more damage. And of course, the more that you melee the petrified enemies, the more, armor you're going to be building up. And then the harder it's going to be for them to kill you, which is awesome. You're also immune whenever you are landsliding. So look, pay attention to the top right hand corner. Whenever my health bar goes gray, that basically means that I'm immune. So whenever you're landsliding, you're covering them rock, and you're completely immune to all enemy damage. So again, we need a little bit more energy. So like I said, if you're having massive concerns about your energy, just go ahead and swap out Augur Secrets for rank whatever fleeting. So let's see, 1 from the top, there you go, and then you do a 1 from the top streamline, which is going to decrease your strength by a little bit, but it's going to let you melee a lot more, which means that you're gonna deal more or less more damage because you're getting more melee hits in, right? So let's just go ahead and test it again, and you'll see that it costs significantly less. It's just these guys are going to stay stunned for a little less longer, because you have that minus duration on your third ability, or on fleeting plus transient, right? So they're not going to be stunned as long, but it's still long enough for you to kill them, and it takes a lot less energy. So it's really down to you which one you want to use. I prefer the one with Augur Secrets, just because I like one-shotting all the things, and I'm not really using Atlas in high-level content, which, requires multiple casts. But let's just go ahead and take a look at the stats again. And you'll see that we get 15-second duration, which is still pretty good. We have a lower combo window as well, which is kind of going to affect your damage a little bit. You have to be a little bit faster on the cast, but because you have fleeting and streamline, you're going to be able to cast a lot anyway. So it's really down to you. Your Rumbler's duration is pretty significantly hit as well, but like I said, it is all down to you as the player. So that is how to play Atlas. That's kind of a quick rundown of his first ability, his Landslide, and his Petrify, how I use it. Of course, you can use your 4 and your 2 for a few niche things, but other than that, that is pretty much it for the How to Play Atlas video. Thank you guys for watching this one, and if you want to see more Warframe content from me, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.